All right, we're live. So, welcome everyone to the show. Thank you for coming back for episode 2. I had a lot of fun with the first one, and I think this one's actually going to be more fun and smoother. So, the name of the show is called Chasing Passion, and I interview people that I know and people that I've worked with that are doing cool, fun, creative things that I have no idea how to do and I think are super awesome. And I'm super excited to talk to you, Brianna, tonight about
Thank you.
what you've done because I know actually absolutely nothing about video editing or what you've done. So it kind of feels to me like when you play a video game and you're in the beginning stages, like the first few levels where the skill gap is so far for you that you're just getting all this
You're
free
like,
stuff.
cool,
You're like getting
running
all
through
this,
it.
yeah, all this armor, all this level. You're getting all these items, and my skill level is so low about knowing about what's going on that I'm going to learn so much from you just from this limited episode
I
that by the
hope.
time I walk out of here, it's going to be I think it's going to be, I'm going to feel so much better. So,
Awesome.
let's start off with why I picked you.
Okay.
I picked you, number one, because I've looked up you on Instagram and I know that we have a lot of shared interests. So some of the things I noticed were you're into gaming and you're into self-improvement and you've been working on your health and exercising. And I believe that I saw that you were volunteering at an animal shelter, which is something
Yeah,
that I've
cat
always
shelter.
had a want to do. In my
Mhm.
life, which I haven't done yet. So I saw enough common interest there that I feel like we were going to have a good connection and we were going to have like a lot to talk to each other about. So that was really why I picked you. I picked you for video editing. You sent me that email, which I read, and I watched your capstone project as well as the others, and I read your bio. So I'm well informed as far as like a good starting point for the conversation. And now my little monologue about part of the reason why I'm doing this show, and I mentioned it in last week's episode, was I feel like there's these really hyper productive characters out there in Instagram and social media and in the world. Like the examples I used last week were Russell Wilson and The Rock, where you have these people that are really hyper productive and they're managing their life to such a level that when you're in the beginning stages of like trying to piece things back together, or when you're trying to figure out a new direction for yourself, or when you're trying to just work on some really basic stuff, when you see these characters, a lot of times it can feel really disheartening because it's so far away from where you are in your life and it's not realistic for you. So I interview people that I know, like you, that have done cool things, that are building, that aren't at this like eating 12 meals a day and like something that I can't attain. So it's more
Yeah.
relatable to people and to me as a person, like, hey, you're going through the same struggles that I'm going through. One question that I asked last week that I think I'll start off with this week with you before we dive into the point A to point B
Hmm.
is I read this interesting book, and the book was called The Art of Learning. And
Hmm.
I don't remember the author, but it's a really famous story about this really awesome chess. He was a really awesome chess player, and then he was a really awesome Tai Chi player, and he figured out this how to learn things really fast and how to
Okay.
learn things really efficiently. And one of the things that he says in the book is that when you're being raised as children, you're either being raised uh, as a as a process based learner or you're as
Hmm.
a results based learner. So a results
Hmm.
based learner would be someone that's like I was raised as a results based learner. So what my dad would say to me when I was young, if you get all A's and B's, I will give you a reward. And someone that
Yep.
was a process based learner was someone who they would call the parents would call the teacher up and they would say, is my child trying everything that they can? Are they doing everything that they can in school? Are they working as hard as they can? And they would be rewarded for working hard. And
Hmm.
so there are benefits to both, right? So the
Yeah.
results based people are going to be really focused on achieving results and systems, and they're going to be, I think, less creative and more competitive. And the creative based people, the process based people are going to take their time and they can get kind of bogged down with the creative process because they want it to be perfect, but they also are
Hmm.
going to produce higher quality work. And
Yeah.
so it is a balance. And so my question to you would be, if you had to pick one and not say both, which one? Because that's what the natural inclination. It's like if someone tells you, like, say what you are, 1 being the best and 5 being the worst, it's like you can't use
Yeah.
3. You
You're
can't
like,
use
nope, I'm 3.
yeah, you can't use 3, right? What would you say that you were generally raised
Oh,
as?
that makes it tough because literally, like, my mom and dad, my dad is the kind of person who would definitely do the, okay, you're getting straight A's, I'm going to give you $30 for each A you're getting. Whereas my mom, she's a teacher, so her inclination is to then go and ask the teachers, like, hey, is she doing good? If she's doing good, this is fantastic. So I kind of, that's why I want to say both. I feel like I am more so the, I lean towards, I forget what it is, the one that my mom is, not the,
More towards process
yes,
skills. That's
yes.
interesting because I do think that you can be a balance, and I think that that was
Mm-hmm.
the resolution that I got to last week with my friend Nathaniel. Was the resolution was that it really, the most successful, the way you're going to be the most productive and
If you
creative
do it both
is to
ways.
be both and to have the influences
Mm-hmm.
of both people. If you lean skew too heavily one direction, you're going to run into trouble. And I know that I ran into trouble from a personal level because I was so focused in my life on monetary rewards of like
Mm-hmm.
take the extra $5,000 a year, or get the
Yeah.
incentives of the schedule, or get the and so that's part of what this project is about for me, because to say that it's not a little bit about ego, it would be somewhat of a lie, right?
Right.
Like it is
A
about
little bit.
it is providing value, but like there was
Yeah,
a ton of ways I could have provided value without like
absolutely.
putting myself on camera. So some of it's about ego and some of it's about me trying to learn to be more process driven. So
Mm-hmm.
that's really interesting to know. So let's just dive in because you have so many things to talk about here.
I do.
Yes. So let's start with the practical stuff. Like if you are 16 and you're in high school, like what's the process that you took as one way to go from high school through school into video editing and beyond?
So I'm super unconventional. I've talked to obviously a lot of people with the same background as I have now. And each person was like, oh, I've been video editing since the start. Like, that's all I've been doing. I've picked up a camera and just started with it. Me, I've always had a love for film. Like, it's just been innate in me. I would go see a movie at least once a week when I was growing up. It would be with whatever family member or close family friend that we had that was like, oh, cool, you have free time, you want to go see a movie. And that's just like, that's how I grew up. So I've always been focused on movies. And in high school, when you started, because like junior year, you're asked, what do you want to be? Like you're about to go to college, what are you doing? Every single thing that I chose, it was to be in movies. At first, it was fashion designer, and I was like, it'd be really cool to make the clothes for movies. Like, that would be cool. I want to make your costume. Then, when I went to college, I went actually for computer science. So, nothing even remotely close to film.
Sure.
But I wanted to do it for the computer graphics so I could make CGI
Sure.
in
Makes
film.
sense.
Yeah. So, when I got to school, I went into it was like orientation or whatever, and I was talking to the advisor, and I was like, I'm majoring in computer science. Like, that's it. Just put me down for that. And she's like, most freshmen come in undecided so that you can dabble with everything, do what you want, like see what fits. So as she was like scrolling through all of the degree programs that they had, she scrolled past film. And I was like, wait, whoa, I can study film here? And she was like, yeah, of course. Why not? So I was like, cool, put me in that. Let's do it. And so I did computer science and I minored in film for the first couple of years. And then as I slowly started failing all my computer science classes, started like flying colors in all my film classes, and I was like, I might have found my niche here. Like, this might be what I need to do. So then I switched to, well, for a second, I was double majoring in both of them, thinking that was going to happen, but that was too tough. So then I just focused on film. About everyone told me to stay away from editing, actually, ironically enough, because editing is tough. It's one of the toughest parts of making a video.
Sure.
Because you're the one putting it together. It takes a lot of time and effort too. So I stayed away from it for the first 2 years of my college experience. I was like, I'm not touching editing. I don't want to do that. It's going to be too hard. And then there was one project that we had no one wanted to edit, and in my head I was like, I want to do at least everything that I can once while I'm here in school so that I can have everything under my belt. I went and I did the editing on that project, and I loved it immediately. It took me 20 minutes to get, because it was just a short little, like, we went and interviewed people on a sports team at school and had to put together a like 2 minute video. So it only took me 20 minutes. And I
Sure.
was like, this is amazing. What is this? This is fantastic.
Yeah.
Um, and so that for me, that was when I realized Mary's trying to talk to me.
It adds, it's funny because there was something in the last video too, and it adds such a level of like, this is really happening in real time that it's
So
awesome.
guess what?
I'm totally into it. So
Uh,
that's
but yeah,
awesome.
so apart from Surrey,
That's
so
so funny.
that's how I found my way. And so it's completely unconventional. Most people will tell you to jump right in, like the second you know, just download all of the apps and programs that you can. So, like, right when I realized I wanted to be an editor, I had a PC and they just had like Windows Movie Maker or something. And so I played with that. And that's like super basic. You can't really do anything except for like put clips together. But I sat there playing with that program for like 6 hours one night. And I was like, wow, like 6 hours of my life just passed and I didn't even, it felt like 2 minutes to
Yeah,
me. So
that's
that's how
cool.
I.
That's cool. So now I want to talk about. So that's it. So you went a really and I find what I find most interesting about it as I was thinking about it, because sometimes like you're saying things, and while you're saying things, like I'm listening and I'm trying to derive what I feel and what I'm finding is really important about it. And are you there? Oh, there you go. Your video froze a little bit.
Oh, I'm here.
All right, hold on. Let's see if it'll come back. All right, I think you're good. So one of the things that I found the most important was that there are a lot of people out there that um, they know from the beginning, like that
Mm-hmm.
what they want to do,
Yep.
and I could feel that from when you were telling the story. Like that wasn't me. Like we've met people like that are just like they get in a certain track from the beginning and they just do it. And I think that that's one of the struggles that I have, and that a lot of the people that I meet have, is
Yeah.
that they like we're not as sure. We're not
Exactly.
as
Yep.
like it's a little bit more gray for us. So it's super cool to hear from you, like that's the way that you came up, that you had an interest
Yep.
in it, but that there was still like some, I don't know if insecurity is the right word, but like you're around a bunch of people that are like feel like they're all playing on a certain team together, and then
Yep.
you're like having to fit in with those people.
Oh yeah.
So I'd like to talk to you about when you went to LA and what your
Yeah.
experience was like in LA, because
Yeah.
what's the culture like there? What were your feelings like, as whatever you would like to share, and then
Okay.
what brought you back up to the Northwest, and why did you decide to take that path?
Okay. Um. Well, so like you said, not growing up, going to school with a bunch of people who actually had like been messing around with cameras since they were 5. It's very disconcerting because I'm sitting here like, okay, so I just randomly decide like this is what I want to do. Like why do I have the right to be here when you've known for so long? And so I at first it kind of felt more like a longing almost, not like something that I could actually make happen. And so LA, the whole reason LA happened, I had friends in LA. I've always loved Hollywood and all that for obvious reasons because I was super into movies. So I always wanted to go to Hollywood. The first time I went to LA was for an internship. And the only reason I did that was because I had it in my head that if I got an internship, that's how I would get into the industry. That
Mm,
was it. That was my go to. If I didn't get that one, I would be screwed. And when I was applying, I actually had an interview for Paramount internship and then Silver Pictures Productions internship. It was kind of cool because Silver Pictures, they just sent me a script and had me do script coverage right off the bat, which
sure.
basically is just like I read a script, write my synopsis on it and tell them if I think they should make it into a movie or shouldn't. And I also learned like the lowest of the low people are the first people that get the script. So it's kind of crazy to see what movies come about, because the only reason it gets brought about is because this low person is like, hey, I like this movie. Let's pass it on to the producer.
Oh, that's
The producer
interesting.
then reads it.
Yeah,
Right?
that's super
Crazy.
interesting.
Right? But so they sent that to me. That was kind of my interview with them. Paramount, I did like an hour-long phone call. Totally like I'm super big into signs and everything. And like on my drive to my aunt and uncle's from like I was going home for the weekend from college, and I was driving with a Paramount truck right next to me, and I was like, how is this not meant to be?
Yeah,
But they didn't take me, and so
yeah.
that was it was crushing. But so I went to Silver Pictures with this like idea in my head that it was going to be the most busy, crazy summer of my life. It was going to lead to like new pathways. While I was there, I met a guy who was an intern who had been interning with Silver Pictures for like 5 years, and he still didn't have a paying job. He was still just interning with them. And so that was very like, it was hard for me to fathom and be like, wow, like this is something that could happen to me in my career. When I was there, that's where I met one of the editors that I still kind of email. And so one thing you learn in school is you need connections. Like it's all about who you know rather than what you know. And to an extent, I believe that. So I tried really hard. I was like, cool, this internship is a big doorway for me. Let me get everyone's email that I can. So I met the editor, got his email, and was like, cool, here's my connection. Back at school, we had a guy who, like, he graduated from NAU, and he's super big into the computer graphics for films. And so, like, he worked on Twilight, he worked on a bunch of big movies. I can't think of any others that he's done. But so I got his email too, because he came and did a talk at school. And so when I graduated, I was like, perfect. I've got 2 people that I know in LA. This is going to be fantastic. Went to LA, was living with my friend who I had made through college, was there for 6 months. And again, on my head, it was LA is the hub for movies. This is where all the production companies are. This is where I'm going to make my mark. This is how it's going to happen. Not once thinking about all the side projects I could do. For me, it was just movies, movies, movies. And so I went, I emailed both of my connections, and they're helpful to an extent. Like they gave me a lot of knowledge, and they're always there for me in things like that. But when it came to actually getting me a job, it was very much like, oh, I know of this unpaid thing. Oh, I know of this unpaid thing. So that was tough for me. And I was there for 6 months, and I got a job at Nordstrom Cafe Bistro. I was a host. I was bussing, and I was trying really hard to make it work. I was doing any unpaid thing that I could get my hands on when I was there. And I realized very quickly, because only making $10 an hour, I was living in Linwood and driving to El Segundo, which is like a 30-minute drive. And that was basically $10 per my small little 8-hour shifts, like 3 or 4 times a week. That's only enough for gas. That's not
Yeah.
really, I'm not making enough to sustain myself while I'm
Sure.
there. So it was a hard realization. Like I go through phases where I journal in my life, and I was journaling at that point. And like when I go and read them, I'm like, I want to be here, but it's not working for some reason.
Yeah.
And that gets me. I'm the kind of person where if I have this plan in my head and it doesn't happen, it makes it hard for me. Then I'm like, why is it not happening? What is it that I'm doing wrong? Why am I doing this wrong? So it was very tough to then decide, okay, maybe I should go home, like reevaluate, just kind of recenter myself. When I was in the middle of that, that's when my aunt and uncle were like, come live in Phoenix, because it's just a 2-hour drive. I think it might be 4 hours. I might be trying to condense here, but so it's some length of time drive and much quicker than Washington.
Sure.
And like stay with us just for 6 months, because maybe something will come out of all these unpaid things that you were doing. And I was like, well, that makes sense. Like it's why not? And then also there's opportunity for like if there's something on a weekend that I can come and work on, then I can still drive down for the weekend,
Right.
work on it,
Right.
and come back, and it's right there.
Yeah.
So I went back to Phoenix and was living with them. Got a job at the zoo, which was fun. It was mainly only fun because my best friend worked there, so I got to see her every once in a while.
Sure.
And I got to walk around the zoo and see the animals, so that's
Sure.
cool. But I realized I want to say because I kept trying to apply to film things, but then I I got stuck by the fact that I was in Phoenix and not in LA, and so I kind of after a certain point stopped. And probably like 3 months into it, I realized I was like, what the hell am I doing? I'm in Phoenix, not going for my dream. I was literally a janitor at the zoo, so I was just picking up crap
Yeah.
and not going for my dream. And I was like, this isn't the lowest of the low. I don't know what is. So I gave myself a few more, like a couple more months. That's when I emailed, like I said, the editor, and he got me the interview for the film. I don't know if I should say it. I feel weird saying the
Okay.
title, so I'll just say
Sure.
I got to interview for a big time film, and I thought for sure that's how I was going to go, like straight into I was like, this is my doorway into Hollywood. And it all seemed to line up because they needed me to start like that Monday. And I was like, perfect. Like, I need out of Phoenix. This is starting right now. Fantastic.
Sure.
But then I went through the interview process, found out that the director is a dick, and basically didn't get hired because I'm female. Woo!
Yeah.
um, so at that point in time, it was really tough for me because then I sat there and was like, is this how it's all going to be? Like, is it because I'm female that I'm not going to be able to make it into this industry that I so want to be a part of?
Sure.
So at that point, like when you get that down on yourself, it's kind of nice to have your parents. Like, even if you don't tell them that and they don't know that that's what you're coming home for.
Right.
So that was my, cool, I'm going home. Like,
Yeah.
I don't even, no thoughts about it. I'm going to pack up my car and go drive home. So I came back home, and I want to say I didn't even try to get into anything like film related for a year. I came home and I was so crushed and defeated. I was
Sure.
like, this isn't like, I just tried for a good year after college. I have a degree in this and it's not working. I give up. And so got a job at Fred Meyer, was working at Fred Meyer. Literally, I would sleep all day, wake up. I would work their closing shifts, so I would work from like 3 until 11.
Sure.
So I would sleep. It was 5 minutes away from the house, so I would wake up at like 2:30, sometimes 2:45, get ready for work, go to work, be at work until probably like 11:30 midnight, come home, and then again sleep all the way up until 2:45. And that got me down hardcore. Like, if I'm not doing anything for me and I'm just sleeping and working, it's not good mentally.
Yeah.
So that's partially why I'm now super big into like, hey, self-love, you're awesome, do this. But so I want to say like 7 months into that, my mom was like, Bree, this isn't good for you. You're not working towards what you want to do. Like, we said you could come move back home, but you're not even working for what you want. Like, that's kind of why we had you come back, so that you could try to make it work.
Sure.
And I was like, okay. So she kind of like nudged me to start thinking about it. So then I started trying to apply for a different job because I hated Fred Meyer. Did not want, I was like, why the hell am I here? This doesn't make sense. So I started applying to random jobs. And that's when my mom said, try to apply for a hotel job so that you can get into LA. And so that's why I now currently work at a hotel.
Sure.
Because I got my job at Hilton, and the whole like purpose for me getting a job in a hotel was to somehow get it to transfer down to LA, because I wanted to again get back to the hub where film was, because in my head that's the only place that I could do that, obviously.
Sure.
So I got into hotels, and now I'm here.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm glad, and I think that it makes for like, it's like really honest. And I think there's a lot of people that share different aspects of the story. And so I'm going to kind of take a minute to kind of recap like what I'm seeing, and then we can just talk about what's next for the future, and go that direction, and how you've basically begun the rebuilding process for yourself, which I think is really awesome.
Yeah.
And So you go down there, and so for me, I've really been kind of big into stories and symbolism lately, and how the example that I use for symbolism is like, if I show you like a picture of the Nike symbol, or if I show you a picture of Apple, like it elicits these feelings, or Amazon or Starbucks or whatever, the logo, like they
Yep.
elicit these feelings that you may have positive or negative about the particular company. And so I thought to myself, well, if you feel that way about a picture, then like a human being like is infinitely more than that, like in like as far as what you represent out in the world.
Yeah.
So I see you go down and you have this dream and you're into it and you're feeling it, and you go down and you've developed some skills and you're networking, and it seems like you're doing the right things. Like, you, from the story that you're telling, you're like doing work for free and like
Yep.
grinding for minimum wage and like doing everything that seems to be like right for to go down a certain path. And then just like a bunch of failures like in a row, or not failures, but in the sense of like things that just didn't align up the right way at the right time to be,
Yep.
and it wears you down after a while. I mean, I know that I felt this way as a chef, and I can relate to you in that way, where but mine was a little different because I don't think I felt the passion that you feel for video editing. So I
Yeah.
was doing these things and grinding too hard, and then I got worn down, and then I was like, I'm so disinterested and not don't want to do it. And then when I left, and now I've left doing it, like I was really lost for like a good year and a half. And that's why I
Yeah.
find your story really relatable. Is like I I started going back to the center of like, what are even my fundamental like beliefs that I even like believe in about myself,
Hmm.
and trying to rebuild those up.
Yep.
And that's kind of why you and I have like even met in this sort of place, is because we're both, I've met a lot of people in hospitality that are really talented, and it
Yeah.
just, because I think for hospitality in general, hotels in general, they offer a level of stability, and there's people there
Yeah.
with a level of skill that I've met, um, that they're just in transition to their next thing that they're working on. And the stability of being in hospitality allows you to kind of work on that and slowly build that back up. But you have all these things go on, and you're doing everything right, and it wears you down, and then you get burnt out. And that's, I mean, to me, that's on top of the things that happened all over the place, the things that happened with the film that you were going to be in, and just all of it just crushing you and being like, in a sort of sense, like, screw this, like, I'm not interested anymore. But you can't really like keep it away, because it feels like something that you really want to do. It is something like,
Absolutely.
and so I, one thing I notice is definitely that you have this mentality, which I think I share with you, which is like, you take it all on yourself, and that's
Absolutely. Yeah.
like, it's really good in a sense,
Hmm.
because it does allow you to get things done, because you're like, no one's going to do this for me. Like, no
I
one's
have to do
like,
it.
I have to
Yeah.
build the plan, I have to execute. And that allows you to be really efficient. It allows you to like menu plan and exercise and work and get home and video edit. And like, people that
Yep.
aren't like, that don't have that philosophy as like one of the cornerstones of who they are, like they
Mm.
struggle with that, because it's like they're expecting someone else is going to come in
To
and
plan it for
plan it
them. Yeah.
for them and just say, oh, hey, I've made this plan for you, here you go. So it's really great. But then, everything has a positive and the negative, and the negative is like, you just like can beat yourself up. And that's the negative
Yeah.
side, is that when things fail, then
You take it
you,
a lot more personally because it was
because
all on
it was
you.
all on you. And then you
Yep.
really have to like really, but sometimes it isn't on you. Like sometimes
No,
it, right,
I
sometimes it didn't line
in
up. And I think that that's the direction that we're going to go with the conversation, which is like
yep,
really important, because that's when I post this, I think that's what's going to give a lot of value to people. It's like,
absolutely.
everyone can relate to that. It's like carrying the weight of things and then having it fall apart, and then being like, you know what, sometimes it's just, we're not quite there yet. Sometimes it's
Hmm.
circumstantial, and maybe I need to try a different tactic, or I need to go a different route, and that's where we're going to go. So I guess I would summarize it by saying, I 100% empathize with your your point of view and understand
Yeah.
why you did what you did. And I think that your bounce back on this one is just going to be so much higher that
Thank you.
I think that you're going to crush it. And I just,
My goal.
I do believe that. I really believe that you're
Thank
going
you.
to make it. So I want to take a moment to talk about, and this is where we're going to transition into this, how you've begun to rebuild yourself. I read in the synopsis that you sent me that you had an opportunity for something and you turned it down because it wasn't exactly the right
Yeah.
fit for you. And I can tell by the look on your face, like exactly what this is going to be and where it's going to go. But I think it's a
Yeah.
good starting point for
For how we're going.
how
Yeah.
we've rebuilt everything. So why don't you tell me what happened next?
So it was months before graduating. And like I don't think I had fully realized that we were graduating college and what that meant, because we graduated high school and we just went straight into college. So like college graduation was coming and I wasn't fully like, wow, you're going into the real world. You're going to need a job. You're going to have to do this. And I had a bunch of friends who were like scrambling to make their resume look good, to get X, Y, and Z in place. And I like literally last minute was like, cool, chill. I don't need to do this. I've got this. Cause like I'm also very, I believe in myself 100%. I think that I can do it, but then with that comes the downside of it where if I don't get it, it's 100% my fault. So it sucks, but at the same time, it then led me to wait until like 3 months before graduation to start applying for jobs, which everyone else, like at this point, had a job lined up and they were ready to start it on this date right after graduation. And I'm like, wow, you guys, why'd you do that? So I found out really quick that it's really hard to find film jobs just like randomly online. You have to know how and where to look for it. And so I like went on all of the career websites to put up a resume. Monster, oh, I can't even think of all of them. I only remember Monster because Monster is how they found me. So it was a nonprofit organization. Don't remember what it's called. Don't. I just know it was like from where I live in Federal Way. It was like a 2 or 3 hour drive. So I was kind of iffy about that too. But it would have been. I don't know what I was thinking. But anyway, so it was a nonprofit. They called me. They scheduled a phone interview with me. They loved me. They were like, we really want to do an in-person interview before we hire you, but it kind of seems like this is where it's going. And so they said, like, after graduation, when you are in Washington, make sure you give us a call. And so, like, I wrote their number down on a piece of paper. I had it in, like, a folder. I kept it, even had it when I got back to Washington. And I remember my dad kept, like, Bree, you need to call him. You need to call him. You need to call him. But in my head, doing video editing for a nonprofit was not what I wanted. That wasn't my dream or my dream. My dream was to be in the limelight. I realized very quickly that what I was chasing back then was the fame. And that's not, when you have a passion, you shouldn't be doing it to be famous. You should be doing it because you love it, because it's making you a better person, because you're able to bring it out into the world. Like, so many people have a passion that isn't known because obviously they're not, Leonardo DiCaprio or anyone.
Sure.
But you don't see them unhappy because they're not known for it. They're happy because they're doing it. But in my head, I had to be a film editor. I was like, no other way. And if I do nonprofit organization work, nope, that's not gonna, nope. And like it got brought up like 3 or 4 times that summer when I was home, like go interview, go interview. It's like you can interview for it, and if they try to give it to you, you can still turn it down. It doesn't have to be something that you like, oh yeah, I'll take this right on the spot. Like, yeah. But I did not do it. And like the thing that sucks too is I remember one night it was right before I was leaving, and like me and my parents, we have a really strong connection, so it was really tough for me, and like I was going to LA. And so me and my dad, we were having a couple of drinks and like just hanging out in the garage with the like door open. It's way late at night. and we start talking about what I want to do. And I just start crying because I'm like, I want to be a film editor. I want to be like, go on IMDb, look me up. That's how I want it. And at this point, I had already had the IMDb credits from the short film for school. So I was technically a credited editor.
Sure.
And my dad was like, Bree, you're on IMDb. Go look yourself up. You can pull your name up on IMDb. And I was like, that's just one thing. I needed to have like 20 things on there.
Yeah.
And like, I was in tears over this because he wasn't understanding it. Now looking back, I'm realizing I wasn't understanding his side of it.
Sure.
Because I had that wall up. I had it has to be film. It can't be anything else.
Sure.
And literally looking back on it, I had a job lined up right after college to do exactly what I wanted to do. Instead, I took the road less traveled, I guess. I'm probably better for it, and I've learned so much about myself, and I think that's why I was supposed to take that path. But if I could go back to any point in time and redo anything, it would be that I would go back and interview for that job.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot. And I actually think that it's really the road more traveled by a lot of us is like when we're young, there's like some sort of ego involved where we want to have the accolades, and it's rooted in something about insecurity or something about like we feel that we have a chip on our shoulder and we feel the need to prove ourselves. And then I think something happens when you turn a certain corner where you begin to realize how it doesn't matter that much. And how it's more about the process and about enjoying what you're doing, because you're just like 80% of your life is just the everyday stuff and living your life every day. And it's not like you're going to win and you're going to lose and you're going to get certain big things and you're going to get small things. But really it's the day in, day out. And that has been a shift for me in my early 30s where I'm like, okay, I need to make an adjustment to the way that I'm acting because this isn't going to work, and like I need to start finding things that I feel passionate about or that I feel strongly about, and not worry about, how much money am I going to make a year or am I going to get, because when I was young, I got promoted really quickly and almost too quickly for my age. And I got used. So I got promoted once when I was 23 and then once when I was 26. And I got hungry off of that. I got like,
this
look
is so
at me.
ironic.
Yeah.
Did you know that basically happened to me, like roughly the same ages?
Really?
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. Yeah. And I got hungry off of it and I got ego off of it because I felt like all these people were looking at me and I was young and I could do, 80 hours a week and I could, and I could just handle it all. And I had all this attention, but I didn't really care about what I was doing. Like there's a certain level, and I noticed this where when you are working on anything really creative and if you work really hard, you can get to the top 70% of the workforce just by outworking people. But then when you're really up in the upper echelon of people where you're competing against other people that are also like into what they're doing, like being passionate about what you're doing is what's going to take you up to the top. Because the chefs that I've seen make it in the industry, in the culinary industry, were the chefs that they were genuinely interested in food of their own account, whereas I wasn't. Because it's like you're going to get to places where like you feel like, I'm tired, I don't want to do this anymore, but like your natural interest is what's going to get you through those things. It's kind of like having your why, And so for you, it seems like that it's starting to become more clear, and it's starting to like, you're starting to heal and build towards something positive. So
absolutely.
I would say, like, let's start with what's next. What are you building towards right now? What are your feelings? We've got like 20 minutes left. So we'll do, and then we'll get you wrapped up so we can get on. And it's already been 40 minutes. It's like gone by like it's been nothing.
Flew by.
I know it did. It's really interesting. So what's next for you? What have you been building? What are your thoughts about video editing in general and about the direction you want to go?
Well, to start out, I have realized it's not film that I want. Like, would it be amazing if I could get onto a movie and be the editor for a movie? Hell yes. I would take it in an instant. Absolutely. But at the end of the day, making a video, that's what makes me happy. It doesn't have to be something that millions of people will see. It can be something that only a crowd of 20 people can see at this point. As long as I'm making a video, that's what makes me happy. Oh, sorry, I forgot kind of what the question was there.
No, so the question would be like, what are you working on now? So like when I see you on Instagram and I'm stalking your story and I see that you're video editing, what are the current projects? Are you working on anything that's like a labor of love, or is it something that you're just trying to build up a portfolio of things that you've done, or both?
I do want to. It's kind of both. Honestly, right now I'm trying to hopefully get a good relationship with someone that I've only just recently met who makes videos.
Sure.
He's great, one of the best people I've worked with. We're working on a project for a school district, and so like making certain amount of videos for like mainly for their staff meetings and for things like that.
Sure.
And so that honestly, that has sparked my love even more because I've learned so much more. I've been playing with After Effects more, which I haven't done before.
Sure.
I've been so in control of the editing process too, which has been fantastic because it's opening and freeing for me. And then I've been getting great feedback on it because I'm used to, like, sometimes when you have a director who doesn't really know editing well or doesn't want to think about it, he'll get the first draft you do. So it could have like a bunch of mess ups in it.
Sure.
And he'll be like, oh, you are the best editor I've seen. I'm going to show this to everyone else. And I'm just sitting here like, cool, that doesn't help me shape how I want to be. So again, it's a lot of networking right now. I do want to I want to start my own editing business. Right now, cool. Obviously, it's very like, I don't have a whole lot of work coming in because I have to network more and I have to find people who want me to edit their videos.
Sure.
So that's a goal of mine. And then hopefully my friend who's letting me use her house right now, she wants to make a YouTube channel.
Sure.
Sorry. And so hopefully I'll be able to edit her stuff. So that's kind of like my goal, basically. Just find any video that I can edit. I'm doing this.
One of the thoughts that came into my mind when you were saying that was, what are your thoughts on, I'm trying to figure out how to frame the question. What are your thoughts on like editing for like social media, for like Instagram and like shorter clips? Is that something that you would be willing and or are interested in doing?
Absolutely. I've actually thought, because I meal prep a lot, and so it's tough for me because like I have my editing business right now has its own Instagram and I have like a Facebook account for it and everything. But because I'm not working on like things that are solely mine, I'm not posting on there as much as I should be because I can't really go take credit for this other dude's video project on my editing. Like, look at my video. So because I do meal prepping a lot, I've been thinking about trying to start making like meal prep videos for Instagram.
Sure.
But I'm an editor. This is going to sound really weird, but I'm an editor, which means I'm not that, I'm creative, but I'm not good with the like camera, and I'm not good at coming up with a story to tell and things like that.
You prefer like more of like the finished video, and then you like to have someone send you the finished video, and then you could have your time to tinker with it and adjust it.
Not really. Just like the finished shots.
Got it.
Like, if you sent me a ton of shots of something, I could put it into a video for you. And then I can tinker with it after I've made that video and we've decided what we need to edit. But when it comes down to like writing a story, because like a lot of people are also like, why don't you make a short film? And I'm like, yeah, great. I will sit down and I will write a story about a man making a sandwich for you. Like, I'm not good at that.
I mean, there is a certain something to be said about like having the self-awareness, right? To say like, this is not where I'm good.
This is not my
niche. Like, this is my niche. So it's good. So you know where kind of where your lane is, and you're just gonna you've been
I'm driving right there. I'm comfortable.
yeah, the rebuilding process can be really overwhelming, and it can be quite scary because it's such a long and there's such a lot of work to do, and
Mhm.
you really are rebuilding yourself from the ground up. And this is, and that's what I see from what I've looked at of what you've been doing, and when I had watched you on Instagram, and when I had thought to ask you to begin with was like
Mhm.
you're doing it across the board, like exercise and eating and like just networking, and like you're trying to take every facet of your life and make 1 inch changes in
Yep.
a positive direction, and then that can take a really really long time, but it's really good. You're doing
Mhm.
it the right way, because the way that you're doing it is going to be more sustainable, I think, for long-term change. Because I know that I've run into the habit where, like, because I do a similar thing where I journal quite frequently, and I have like tons of spiral notebooks, and I write goals out, and this is what I saw that you had been doing, a similar thing, but you were doing it online, where I'm writing everything out. But I had a nasty habit of writing out, like, going way too extreme too fast, where I'd be like, here's 6 things
Yep.
I'm gonna do, and like I'm gonna do all of them perfectly, and then
I I have to be at the top.
I have to have zero screw ups. And then
Yep.
the minute that I messed up on like one thing one time, I'd be like, okay,
Off
whatever.
like, nope,
Yeah,
never happening.
yeah, I'm not doing any of these goals. I'm giving up on all of it. So I think that you're going about it the right way. You're going slowly as you feel comfortable, and I know that you're going to get there to where a place that you want to be. And it may not feel that like that right now, but I believe it. Like, you just have the mentality, you have the look of like,
Thank you.
we're gonna do this, and we're gonna go, and we're
We
gonna go
gotta get it
forward.
done. It's
That's
gonna
right.
happen.
So I think that we're getting to a good place. So let's end the video with some words of wisdom from you, of, if they can be practical or they can be emotional or both, of giving feedback to somebody that's starting off in the video industry, that is starting off on social media or editing, or that's doing film, or that's working on their own project, that is not sure whether they can do it or they can't do it, and they need like a little bit of advice.
hmm Well, my first bit of advice is don't get discouraged. Don't get discouraged when Hollywood doesn't come knocking on your door. Any video that you get to edit, it should be something that you're proud of. That should be something that you're excited to work on if that's your true passion. Um, and take it day by day, piece by piece. You can't rush this thing. Like, I totally 100% thought that I could. I wanted to be, I graduated college. I want to say I was 21 or 22. I can't really remember right now, but I was young. And so I thought, great, by 23 or whatever age, I'm going to be in the credits in a movie. This is my goal. This is what needs to happen.
Sure.
But if you do that, that puts pressure on yourself, and the world puts pressure on you already. You shouldn't be adding to it. You shouldn't be making things more difficult for yourself, especially when it comes to your passion, because you don't want to drive yourself away. That year where I didn't touch any of my editing softwares, didn't even think about making a video. I feel like I was also not really going to movies often, which movies, like, they inspire me. They make me excited to be doing what I want to do. And that was the worst year of my life. Like, probably the only real reason why I was so down on myself during that time was because I wasn't doing anything to
Right.
better my craft.
Yeah.
And so that's another part of it. You want to be doing anything and everything to better yourself for the craft.
Sure.
Practice editing. Go make a short video. Go find. I've started just like making videos of my trips. Like, it's something I can edit together and see what I like and what I don't like about certain things.
Well, yeah,
And yeah.
yeah, I totally can relate to you. And like, I don't know if you noticed today, but in preparation for this episode, I looked up how to download my own YouTube video onto my phone, and then
I saw that. Yeah.
downloaded an editing app so I could make short clips to post on
Yeah.
Instagram to get people here. And it's like, it's just is a very slow, patient game. And
Mm-hmm.
and I think, we all had the naive feeling when we were like 18 years old of like life is over when you're 30. And
Yeah,
I
exactly.
remember telling people like, "Oh, when you're 25, you're old." And it's just not true. It's a really, really,
Oh,
really
no.
long game, and uh, there's going to be many, 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 many battles to fight. So this has been great. I've had a lot of fun.
I
Thank
enjoyed
you. It feels
Absolutely.
takes like some weight off of you after
Yeah,
when you're
absolutely. I was like,
when you're done.
woo.
So stay on the line, and then I'll chat with you after I'm finished the episode, and then we'll be done. So thank you everyone for watching, and we'll do it again in a week.